And today I wanted to start from the most general overview of what we will be doing, what Sri Aurobindo says on etymology, what is the science of meaning, semantics, or what we call semantics, syntactics, and pragmatics. There are three branches of meaning. And we will, I don't want to be too scientific because then it sounds like I'm showing off or it's academic subject or something. But to go straight into the meaning, we cannot do. If I ask you, what is meaning for you? How can you describe meaning? It's a fundamental question, yes. You will see that you would not be able to really come easily to this description. Yeah? It's not so easy to grasp. So what is meaning? And that is the fundamental question of etymology, because etymology would be based on that fundamental notion of meaning. Why do we need etymological approach to language at all? Because we want to recover or to discover the core, the meaning of something which is being articulated as the original, the fundamental meaning, before any other meaning can come into existence. Any contextual application comes into existence. So if you take such words in English as, for example, I don't know, television or telephone or I don't know. So if you take these words, you will see that phone is the sound, tele is over, so it's kind of so television, far-seeing, durdarshanam, they translated the same way, yes. In Hindi, they took the same principle, dur, far, darshan, seeing far. That's television. So look how we create the words. We create the words out of what we have from some other original meaning of some other word. We put it into a particular context and we get a new meaning. So all meanings are contextual. But there is something which we always omit, and that is the original, the fundamental original meaning, which we do not grasp. We have no idea. And unfortunately, our etymology and linguistics in general does not acknowledge or does not even accept that there is some fundamental meaning in articulation of the sound. So we articulate sounds because they are there. Nobody even knew about sounds. Nobody even thought that sounds have a particular significance, general significance. Why? Because the whole Western linguistics was never aware of the systematic approach to the articulations of sounds. There was never a system. A, B, C, D, E, F, G is not a system. Now, if you take any alphabet in the West, in the Western tradition, you will see that A, B, C, D comes from Aleph Bet, from the Hebrew alphabet, which Moses brought down from the hill to his people. It was his revelation. He received the revelation. But what Moses did, he codified another system of knowledge by the alphabet, codified. Now, you can read the Bible from the occultistic point of view, from the point of view of Kabbalah, and see the significance of the words very differently than what they really say to us. So there is one layer of the story and there is another layer of the hidden esoteric meaning of the words and sounds. And these 22 letters of the alphabet correspond to 22 laws of this creation, 22 laws of this mysterium. So 22 laws together, put together, are considered to be a mysterium. Yeah, revelation of the whole in all these bits and pieces. Now, Greeks, as we know, Benedetto may confirm that Greeks could not read Hebrew scriptures very easily because they were omitting always, because that was syllabic writing, the same as Sanskrit, they were omitting their vowels. And so Greeks could not really read totally. You had to be initiated and read those texts without vowels. So they invented vowels, as it were. So invented, it's not a right word. They just separated vowels from consonants and left consonants to be by themselves, not in the syllables. So from that time on, we have letters, and we think in terms of letters. It's a big shift. So we have, but again, in the Greeks also, alphabets, we have beta, alpha. What this alpha is? There is a name for the letter, because to pronounce beta, b, is impossible to pronounce it without the sound, without the vowel. We cannot pronounce the consonants k, ch, t, p, without the vowel. We need k, ch, t, p. We need there. We need vocal cords to be involved. Look at this. So the syllabic writing, syllabic thinking was correct. The thinking in terms of letters A, B, C, D. Why is B, C, D? Where this E is coming from? Nobody cares even. They just put it there because they cannot pronounce B, C, D without any vocal cords. They just can't do it. So this is the beginning of a kind of revelation in the West when they discovered Sanskrit alphabet on 5 levels, all possible articulations, systematic view on articulatory devices. Boom, they had their big boom in every direction. Comparative philology, Indo-European languages, linguistics, general, theoretical, everything comes with the discovery of Sanskrit alphabet. Alphabet, not saying anything else yet. Alphabet itself was a shock that we can approach systematically and consciously the way how we articulate sounds. It's not A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which nobody knows why this order. We know it because of Moses. We know that he put the order of the arcanums. Yes, arcanum 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and these are the particular laws of existence. And of course, those of you who studied it, they found a great and profound meaning in them. But it is not articulatory. It's not through phonetics. It's not through our apparatus. It disregarded the formation of our apparatus. Yeah? Makes sense? Or it's confusing more than clarifying. Alphabet, which we are using, is not clarifying how we are articulating sounds. But it clarifies when we use kakha, all the back tongue, kakha, all possible articulations. Then cha-cha-ja-jhanya, all possible articulations palatal. Then cerebrals, ta-ta-da-dharna. Then ta-ta-da-dhana, dentals, that's tongue. This is the tongue, this is the palate. Ta-ta-da-dhana. Then labials, pa-pa-ba-ba-ma. All possible modalities on one level of articulation, put together in a systematic way. It's an amazing thing. Now, this becomes the foundation for every etymological study, because then we can clearly see which roots belong to which. in the system of these etymons or root sounds, as it were. So it's like the chemical table of Mendeleev. When you put into the table a particular element, you know that there will be so many electrons, so many protons, and here so many electrons, so many protons, and the meaning depends on the location within the system. And interconnected meaning of all words, of all possible articulations, is interconnected. Incredible. So whatever word you take, that varna, that particular articulation, that particular effort to articulate meaning would be there. So we can see this if we take, for example, something more obvious from English language, such words as, I don't know, we can take root sta. It's a very good example. Sta, to stay. You see, st is st, and you have this sense of movement and kind of stop, coming to the full stop. So you have these words, and you can see that in English, like stable, or I don't know, station, or stool, or stubborn, or stupid, or stupor. You will have all of them having that particular stop, that sense, that general significance, which we do not read anymore because we are so focused on the contextual meanings of the words. Makes sense? But recovery of that varna, of that color, is the major work we have to do here in this course. If we recover the original varnic significances, which we can do through our apparatus, again, how we articulate sounds, we have to become aware of what is happening to us when we articulate a particular sound. There is a rising of a particular significance or a particular psychological state which we all share and recognize, regardless to that how we use it in language. And this is something about the myth taken from Patanjali. Maybe some of you already heard it, because I often quote this myth where Brihaspati was teaching Indra. Indra was his first student, and he was teaching him Sanskrit language. And it is in Patanjali's Mahabhashya. And it's quite interesting because Brihaspati was pronouncing his words, as it were, his sounds. But the problem with that, how he was teaching Indra is the Lord of the Divine Mind, and Brihaspati is the Lord of the Divine Word, so first teacher of Sanskrit to the gods, was pronouncing every word in its proper application or proper context, or how to put it, in accordance with its true application and appearance in time and space. So Indra understood that there is no end to this identity of sound and meaning, because they go together. They are together. So whatever Brihaspati says is true in that moment of time. So the power and consciousness go together. Whatever Brihaspati says, it appears to be already in full embodiment. Or if he says tree, the tree would appear. Because the power and the consciousness of the meaning of that power go together. Consciousness and power are not separated yet. So Indra understood that there will be it was always authentic, let us say like this. His speech was always authentic, always true. So Indra understood he will never finish these studies because it is infinite. So what Indra did, he was clever. He stopped that infinite flow of Brihaspati's word, cut it into pieces, into grams, and created grammar. He cut that flow of Brihaspati's speech by mental categories. By category of subject, object, time, space, causality. By that he captured the word, the infinite word. By grammar. Grammar separates meaning and the word. Grammar is in between. And if you would not follow the grammar, you would not understand what I say. You would hear only the sounds. But what you do, you reassemble all my sounds into particular grammatical structure, which tells you, which connects you to the meaning I want to express. Yeah, some questions. Maybe it's a good time. So what he did, he separated meaning and sound, and now they are not matching. You can mismatch them. You can lie for the first time. You can put the word in a context where it is not applicable. And it creates the world. This is the myth of creation. You can misplace the meanings to the contexts where they are not applicable with the help of grammar, of course, with the help of language. If you have some questions or clarifications or some insights, please, I think I would give you a space now, and then I come back to what Sri Aurobindo says on the etymology. Yeah? Some impressions?
I just wanted to ask about the source, the reference. You mentioned Patanjali.
Yes, I will give you. Yes,
This.
I'm creating for you Google Drive with all the literature. There will be reference. Yeah.
Fantastic.
You can
Thanks.
read all those texts if you want to in more detail. There's much written on it, by the way. And that's the only question, reference to Patanjali. Okay.
I don't have a question, but I could share something that kind of.
Please go ahead.
So last night, my boy tried to explain to me that, Mama, you speak the same way with everyone: president, maid, driver, director, actor, your student, your teacher, always the same. But you do not understand that in this world, you have to speak to different people differently. What you do is you speak the truth, and it works when you're on stage or when you're doing your healing work. But in real human society, everybody changes meanings, and you have to keep changing meaning to give them that truth. And I've had such a huge conflict with him yesterday over this, because I do not agree to him, although that may be the practical way of living in the world. But so this, what you said about, this, that's when the lie could come in, and the meaning and sound. So that really gave a huge context to his argument. I mean, he's 13, he's becoming this wise teenager. But I thought it was very interesting how you brought it, and also the periodic table. It's like my favorite thing in the world. Before I studied theater in the US, I was a science student in India. So I was like, oh my God, first time somebody can appreciate periodic table for more than what it is. So I'm just happy about that. Thank you, Vladimir.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Rashi. Yes, this is true. Now, what you said, there are two ways of talking. You can always adjust yourself to the context, yes, by adjusting your speech, by adjusting your relations. That's what we do usually. And you may be also yourself without totally adjusting, so to say. It's more dangerous, of course. These are more creative personalities. They are they're bringing and adjusting the context according to their own state of being. So every time, if you observe how it is happening within the context, context is always disturbed by some kind of intrusion of meaning or the word. So the word enters into a particular context, disturbs the equilibrium, and equilibrium is adjusting, all the time adjusting to somebody says something. Why do I say what I say? I disturbed your equilibriums, and these equilibriums started to readjust. And that's how we learn. How we learn anything. We receive the word from somewhere, this aha intention or some kind of flash or lightning, and then we dress it into the language, and then we express it in the word. And that language helps us to put it into the format that others may decode it and understand our intention. It's quite obvious. If I'm speaking not in very clear language, then you would not be able to understand me. I'm afraid you don't understand me already. But,
Vladimir.
yes.
So, and thus playfulness and poetry was born. That's what came up for me.
Yes. Playfulness and poetry. Poetry is Brihaspati's speech. Playfulness and application to different contexts is the power of Indra, of the divine mind. They go together, Brihaspati and Indra. They create all the varieties. And that's why we have synonyms. What are synonyms, actually? If I tell you, the poet would feel the difference between the words. If I tell you, I was using all the time the same example of the big ocean and huge ocean. What is the difference between big, huge, immense ocean? From the point of view of grammar, there is no difference. It's the same big thing. But from the point of view of the sound, it's a very different thing. Big and huge. And the poet would feel that the big is bulky, heavy, some kind of, like, how do we know that big is bulky, heavy, and stuffy? How? We don't know it only through Brihaspati's speech. The color, the sound tells us about this. And huge has the extension. It has space. Big doesn't have space. It's very So we can see this. We can see it everywhere. In English language, I can go through English to Sanskrit, because once you know the roots in Sanskrit, the original significance, you can see it in all Indo-European languages. If we take, we will examine all the letters and all the roots, and we will see so many examples in every language. It's quite a feast for thought.
So Vladimir, so we're saying that the sound is what creates the image, the sound.
The color, yes. It
Right.
creates
the definition.
Yeah, it creates the texture on the substance of the every possible image.
Vladimir, but isn't it a loop in the sense that I have to know what the image is I want to create, and then the one that hears that, they ascribe that communication of that intentionality? I mean, isn't that the way it works?
Your sound changed for some reason in between. Can you click something unclicked? Try again.
Try again.
So Teresa said that her question was about that the sound creates the image, And I'm saying, isn't it a loop where the image that I want to create, I then select within my consciousness the sounds that evoke that image in another? Isn't it both ways? It's not just
It is.
what I
It is
hear,
both
but it's
ways.
also what my intent is.
It is both ways. It is this eye and ear. One eye creates the image and ear creates the sound, or the relation or the vibration, how this image is relating to other images and what it can do. When I was in the university, I had this question, what is lexema and what is lexical meaning? What is the meaning of the word, so to say? If it's to say table, what does it really mean for you? Okay, it's a good question, by the way. We can start from here. What is table for you?
I immediately look at the table in the room when you said that.
Right.
There's a table where we sit, where we
Picture.
eat. So then I start to apply how I use the table, maybe even what it looks like.
But that is the form, yeah?
Right.
The form. And what is the meaning of that form? Now I'm kind of digging a bit.
Has to do with the use.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Bhavani. It has to do with the use. Yes, Melissa.
For me, immediately I had the asana that was coming.
Asana, yeah.
That we call that has the name of the table also. So
Right, table. Yes, it can be also, table of events. It's also a table in a way, but it's a different table. It's an interesting question. When I asked my professor told me, look into the lexicon and find the word table, and it will be a description of the thing, flat, made of wood, 4 legs, preferably. But I said, you are describing the picture, you're describing the form, you're not describing the meaning. And here we have a problem. The form and the meaning, the Indra and Brihaspati are still together here. Indra creates a shape, a form, a vision, an eye, which is embodied in a particular form. This form has a meaning. And what is the meaning of the table is, in Sanskrit, if Anuradha is still here, it's Utpithika. Yes, we say in the Sanskrit Bharati, invented the word, which means something which is uplifting, which is holding it up. Yeah? It is a flat surface, a tabla, if you take from maybe from Italian or yeah. So there's something which is flat in a way, and that flatness can play the role in relation to anything else we want to interact. That particular usage of flat surface, which is holding for us. It can hold for us many things, computer, books, food. So I can take any other subject, any other object, and use it as a table. Is it not so? Yeah. I can take a cover, open up, put on the ground, and this will be our table. Yeah. So where is the table actually? Is it really that wooden thing with 4 legs? It's something else. So where is the meaning? Where is it coming from?
Probably in the link in between a wooden table and a table of contents. Like what is
well,
in
this
between?
this is the contextual meaning of
common?
application of something of that particular action of displaying everything. Now, displaying and holding it clearly visible, supporting it also, holding it that it doesn't fall or doesn't mix. Yeah. So you see, so the meaning is not possible to manifest other than through contextual meanings.
Vladimir,
Mm.
it seems that time must have been born then, because meaning comes from like the past, a memory. I remember holding something up and using it. So I want to somehow reference an experience in this body living, and the word table becomes something that we can agree on if you've had the experience too. Otherwise, then we're kind of having some fun with learning what that experience is called and agreeing on the word. So I don't know, maybe time was born when this whole notion
Of course, time is
form and
absolutely
meaning.
needed. Yes, time is absolutely needed because all meanings are relational. Relational in terms of that how it relates to me, what it can do to me, what I can do to it, how we can relate to one another. There the meaning holds. It's kind of
So,
And also,
is it? I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
and also relational in the regards of other words and other meanings. Like we cannot
absolutely.
define one meaning, but we need to know other meanings to grasp one.
Absolutely. When there was a discussion on artificial intelligence, was most interesting exercise. They wanted to create artificial intelligence and to put all the meanings into the computer. So when they said, for example, a book to the computer would ask, "What is a book?" Yeah, and you say the book is a thing. What is a thing? So and then you say that the book is made of wood. What is wood? What is a book is to read? What is to read? Read is man. What is man? And the more you explain, the more it is left to explain. So to say everything is connected, and this is the meaning. When we use meaning, computer cannot use meaning. It can actually derive what is put into it. If it is there, the program, it will find it. But if it cannot really derive its own meaning from this constellation. When we say a book, we mean the whole world reassembled around this focus book. We mean wood, we mean production, we mean reading, we mean knowledge, we mean man, we mean even seeing and even glasses. We mean everything put together in one word book, and it's immediately available to us. It's not available to computer. Computer, to recognize the meaning of the table, somebody was describing to me how they do it. They take millions of photos of different tables and put into the memory of computer that one of them will pop up once computer looks at the table, and then it will say table. It does not recognize that significance of the sound. Now I'm coming to the sound because I think, and as you already understood, that if the meaning is not in the form, then it must be elsewhere. The table must be deriving its meaning from elsewhere. Yes, Rinko, you wanted to say something I didn't have.
So does that, like, I'm getting it in this manner. When I hear something, the sound kind of just impressionates on my being, and from there I recollect what it means. So that's where the play of Indra and Brahaspati happens.
Absolutely. Very nice definition. I like it, how you described it. Beautiful. So today I wanted to show you how Sri Aurobindo looks at etymology. What is etymology for him? Etymology, unfortunately, is not viewed in a systematic manner. Yeah? They look at it only as the, historical parent of the word. This word is derived from that word and that from that root, and that's it. It stops there. There is no systematic overview of all the roots and all the sounds that we may gather every time a new significance or new contextual meaning. And I want to project this PowerPoint presentation. Wait a second. Where is this? Oh, here it is. Let me So what Sri Aurobindo says on the principles of etymology, it is taken from different places, from his archival documents also, and from Secret of the Veda and other places, the origins of Aryan speech. But the true method of science, he disputes this about the etymology, is to go back to the origins, to the embryology, the elements and more obscure processes of things, not to justify it on the surface as we know the word. From the obvious, only the obvious and superficial results, the profundities of things, their real truth can be best discovered by penetration into the hidden things that the surface of phenomena conceals, into that past development of which the finished forms present only secret and dispersed indications, or into the possibilities from which the actualities we see are only a narrow selection, contextual meanings. A similar method applied to the earlier forms of human speech can alone give us a real science of language. He was telling us that philology in his time was actually a childish science, and it was very true, and it is still very childish. Law and process must have governed the origins and the developments of language. Given the necessary clue and sufficient data, they must be discoverable. It seems to me that in the Sanskrit language, the clue can be found. The data lie ready for investigation. Now, why he considered that in Sanskrit language this etymological approach can be found? Because only in Sanskrit language, only one language, which I know at least, which does not require other languages to explain its own derivations. Maybe Greek still, I'm not sure, in some part, 50%. And Latin 50%, but they already require Sanskrit. So in a way, if we look at the words in Sanskrit, we will see that they derive their words from the roots they have in their own language. They do not create words from other roots, from other languages. So if we say asanam, it is from root as, to sit, sitting thing. If we say, so all the words have this transparency of the root, which creates immediately a sense of the meaning. So we can find an equal regularity, an equal reign of fixed process on the psychological side in the determining of the relation of particular sense to particular sound, artha and shabda, or artha and vak. Very important two concepts of the Indian linguistics, the meaning and the sound. You remember we find it also at the beginning was the word in the in the Gospel from John. And Word was God, and Word was with God, and Word was God. And then what happened? The Word and God, the meaning and sound, meaning and sound got separated. So for four first simple vowels, a, I, u, ri, of Sanskrit language, four first simple vowels, a, I, u, ri, of Sanskrit language indicate the idea of being, existence. That is Sri Aurobindo's definition. A, in its short form, indicates being in its simplicity, without any further idea of modification or quality, where me of initial being, creative of space. So because it is not articulated, it is not modulated neither by the tongue nor by the lips, it is just the vibration of vocal cords without any modulation. And from here, the idea of its simplicity, without any modification or quality, but mere or initial being, because it is already sounding, it is already there, and it is creative of space. It creates a kind of space because it sounds in space. It's like a white color, as it were. Yeah, there is no yet any other vibration, white or black, if you will, but a white. E, if we take E, is an intense state of existence, being narrowed, forceful and insistent, tending to a goal, seeking to occupy space. Now, if we pronounce E, if we move from R to E, we did this with you before. So the tongue, the middle of the tongue, pressing R to the top of the palate. And this pressing to the palate, E sound, if you try it very intensely to do it, so you would feel that intensity and that narrowness and that even it is written in such a way, like one line with the dot on the top. This is fully concentrated, forceful towards the top, as Sri Aurobindo beautifully describes here, tending to a goal, like an arrow flying to a goal, seeking to occupy space. It wants its piercing through the space. And when we pronounce E, we psychologically feel that state of consciousness. Try yourself, you would feel it. It's something which is inbuilt in this apparatus. U, another sound. U is a wide. Wide. It's interesting. Extended and not diffuse state of existence, being medial and firmly occupant of space. It's quite interesting because two lips, they conclude our all apparatus. So there is a surface and there is beyond there. So when we say ooh, we feel fullness within this, within ourselves. Is it not so? I'm confusing you, no? Great. And Ri, a vibrant state of existence, pulsing in space, being active about a point, within a limit. Now this is within a limit. It's like drilling, yeah? Crushing, breaking. It's all that which is used to show that kind of intensity within a limit. And you can find this everywhere. So the difference between ri and li, because there is another sound, l, which is more, it's like ri, but it is not kind of cutting through, it is more gliding through. Yeah? So something leaking, gliding, sliding, not crashing, but clashing rather. Yeah. This, if you compare, you would feel the color of Ri and Li as difference. Ri is more sharp, Li is more soft. And it's quite interesting that in Sanskrit language, in the Vedic, there were many roots with Ri, which in classical shifted to Li, like Rabhate became Labhate, Rikhati became Likhati, and so on. So the R preference was there. By the way, Panini even says that between Ri and Li, there is no difference, fundamental difference. So they are kind of pronounced very closely in his mind. We can find this in Japanese languages, so that they don't distinguish, or Korean, they don't distinguish between Ri and Li, and they sound very funny sometimes. So these fundamentals of the vowels, of our articulations within apparatus of simple vowels, is the beginning of our study of etymology. So you can see that the meaning of the vowels is in our psychological state or effort to articulate a particular meaning. It's not within the sound. It is within the psychological effort to articulate that particular meaning. That the sound appears and we hear it and we associate it with its particular articulation as the meaning. Now, this is the foundation for all later studies. Okay, do you have some questions? I may stop here. I have a few more slides, but we spent some time for introducing ourselves. It was good to become one group, of researchers in this field.
Vladimir, I noticed that in India, most of the names, especially for women, end in A or E, like Pooja, Rashi, and most of the boys' name, not most, but U is many times for the boys, it's very interesting. I don't know
It's from Sanskrit, yes. In Sanskrit, masculine will be always short e, like agnich or narach, short. But in feminine gender, there will be always mainly long e, sundari, savitri, rashi, and so on, and long a's also, yes.
Vladimir, I have heard other teachers describe the vowels as basically the reflections of the Shakti force in her different forms. And the consonants as used to shape the Shakti, to kind of take that primal energy as you describe it here and place it more into a form that has more shape for giving meaning, as you've covered here today. I'm wondering if you could comment on that, if you see it that way or
Wonderful. I love it. But this is already kind of philosophy of or so to say, you have already philosophical approach, which is beautiful. By the way, it is taken from Indian tradition, what you describe. All the vowels are compared to the blood in the body. If compared to the body, all those semi-vowels to the sinews, all the vowels to the consonants to the bones. So we have the whole structure of the body, which is building up something which is functional, definitely. And of course, first four as Shakti powers are beautiful. It's a beautiful vision because we can see clearly that A is Maheshwari, at least I see like this. E is Mahakali, U is Mahalakshmi, and Ri is Mahasaraswati. And I see these four great mothers. You can see it immediately when you look at the meanings and associate these meanings with your articulations. For me, it was more important for you to also to give this link to your subjective articulation, that you can trace the meaning, because that meaning is born in us by articulating these sounds. And it is universal, as it were. It is not something belonging to one particular family of languages. Because the effort is to be made of particular kind. That's why we recognize that big and huge are two different meanings, and we recognize it in the same way, that the huge has extension and big is bulky and heavy because of the sound. And we don't think about it. It's just inbuilt in articulation.
Thank you.
Yes, lovely. It's very, very good. And we see also four varnas. These four varnas associated with four mother powers. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. There's nothing but projection of those powers of knowledge, of power, of bliss, and of perfection, or action.
Question.
Yes.
If I understood you correctly, and I've never heard this concept before, that there is a sound that relates to the various tissue and structure of the human body. Is that correct?
Well, that is the description of the language of all the alphabet. That what these particular, we will come to the alphabet closer. We will see that, for example, vowels are infinite sounds, like has no stop, e, u, and consonants, they are stopped. Yeah, they are sprishtas. Sprishtas means touched. There is a one touch, and that's it. And in that touch, it lives. It doesn't continue. You cannot say when you try to spread k in time, it will become the fricative sound. Yeah? And even there is no touch.
Then where I go with that is that the pronunciation of the Sanskrit alphabet as you go through those sounds, that's almost like an empowering mantra without meaning, but it communicates a level of consciousness within my body. Is that correct?
Absolutely, through the brain. If you go through
Yeah.
all the Sanskrit alphabet, I'm sure it's a brain massage. You activate.
Oh, I love it, man. That's like a Maha mantra.
Yeah, and then activate. You will be tired if you will go through alphabet back and forth several times. You would feel that pleasant tiredness in the brain and in the whole body, because
Yeah,
you
it has to
really
be.
systematically work it out. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
activate all the
fantastic.
points.
Love it. I just love the concept.
Yes,
there is
yes,
a
Melissa.
there is sorry there is a practice, mantra purusha, where you say each word, each vowel, and then each consonant with touching one part of the body, and you can do it as a. I mean, it's one of the practices that we do in meditative singing, yeah, and where each letter has a space in the body, and you really sort of feel it. I don't know if any of you
I don't know.
have a.
Yes.
It's called niyasa, the practice. Also.
Interesting. I would love to see what it is, and if you could share with us this maybe next time. Some to say, if you prepare a slide, it would be lovely. We could look into it and see how it is. truly speaking, I'm a little hesitant because there are many systems, and when you start looking into them, you see that they start contradicting, and they are very mental, and they are very projecting something onto. I would rather keep it in terms of metaphors, and because we want a real thing. We want a real shift, a real breakthrough to the meaning. But if it
When
works,
you do the chanting, the whole alphabet comes into your body. It's because it's a practice you do every day. So it's
it would be
I don't know.
interesting.
It's an
I would be
experiment.
lovely to see it. Yes. So if you next time, if you can, or send to me, or send, or prepare for the next time, it would be lovely.
Even in theater, Vladimir, we use that whole kakhaga for practicing voice and sound, and sometimes we just take one, like, cha 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 na, one actor, and the other one ta ta ta, and then they have, like the emotion. Like suppose there's a veer ras. Then how do you throw the alphabets and how? So even we for the voice and the speech and the diction, and then for the mental apparatus, and then to put emotion in it. So we use this Hindi. It's called khadi boli. So we use Kaka Gaga for experimenting and rehearsal much before we begin on the script.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, lovely. Great.
The chakra system, the chanting of the chakras is based on vowels.
Yeah, well, no, the whole alphabet. Yes, there are petals. This is something which I'm kind of tantric traditions. Yes, where they assign for all the chakras and all the petals, the whole Sanskrit alphabet. I think it's more for the school of tantra rather than for us scientifically to see and understand how it works. But we can also look into it and see why and how we can accept it, or just put a question on it altogether. So great. I can stop here. It's already, I'm 15 minutes over. Thank you for your participation, and we will meet next time, and we will start looking into it. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santo Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om. Namaste.